jump over to the AFC. We talk a lot about the NFC on this show, and rightfully so. All of our teams play in it, and they're three of the best in that conference. But let's talk a little bit of AFC because the AFC is getting pretty interesting right now. So, if you had to say, K Walk, if you had to nail down three teams in the AFC, who are your top three teams as it stands right now in the AFC?
Yeah, this is definitely different than what I had last week, to be honest with you. But at number three, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. They were number one for
Okay.
me last week. But that loss that they had against the Cincinnati Bengals, and we mentioned earlier to say, hey, watch out, ladies and gentlemen, here come the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe
Yep.
Burrow is playing MVP type ball. I know Jalen Hurts is probably the favorite right now, but Joe Burrow is making a legitimate, run at that. So I got Kansas City at three. I got the aforementioned Cincinnati Bengals at two because of
Okay.
they knocked off of the Kansas City Chiefs. I wanted to put the Dolphins here, but Tua just didn't show up on that. I know we talked about and how great the 49ers defense is, and he still had 295 yards, but he missed some crucial throws in that game. So if he performs like that against a big time defense, because that's all he's going to see going forward, so I took them out. Number one, I'm going back with the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
They seem to be hitting their stride right now. They kind of tapered off a little bit, but Josh Allen and those guys have gotten back on track. So one, I got the Bills. Two, I got the Bengals, and three, I got the Chiefs.
Yeah, good stuff, K Walk. We're similar. I still have the Dolphins in my top three. I have them at number three, and the reason I gave them the edge over the Bills is because they got the head-to-head win over the Bills.
Okay.
And I know the Dolphins lost to the 49ers, but look, it was on the road, right? That was on the road, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
On the road, weird kind of a game. Great 49ers defense. So you feel like they should have won, especially when the 49ers quarterback goes down.
Yeah.
But I didn't hold it against them too much because they really have been playing lights out over the last few weeks. So I kept the Dolphins at three.
Okay.
Like you, I have the Bengals at two, man. If you don't, I think people, the Bengals lost their first couple of games. Yeah. They've won 8 out of their last 10. You could argue they're the hottest team in the NFL right now. Like you said, Joe Burrow has found his stride. They've got their offensive rhythm. So the Bengals are definitely on the come up. So I've got them at 2. And yes, I got the Chiefs at 1. Even though they lost to Cincinnati, I'm not going to let that one loss sway a season's worth. So I still think the Chiefs are the better team, I guess. Okay. But Burrow has beat Mahomes every time, I think. So I'm kind of talking myself out of it as I'm talking. But I think I'm gonna keep the Chiefs at number 1 for now. But man, I don't feel great about that. But Britt, would say you bring some clarity to this.
I can't put the Dolphins in it right now. To me, that was a huge loss to the 49ers. And I had a feeling that would happen because the 49ers, again, and that's why I have them at the top of the top, as far as our 3 teams at the top defense. You stop the Dolphins. I don't know what they score. 17 points with that explosive offense.
Yeah.
As good as my Eagles are and as good as the Cowboys are, their defense, I don't know if we hold them to 17 points. We may not. I'm just not sure. So that was huge. And then your starting quarterback goes down and you still win the game. So, but number 3, I put the Bengals. I had a feeling this was going to happen this year. In the first 4 games of the season, they played so bad, it made no sense. But I said to myself, I feel like they're figuring things out. Got a bunch of new players on that team. They're going to figure it out. And that's exactly what they did. And Joe Burrow played lights out against the Chiefs. He played very well, though it was a close game. And like Jay alluded to, he has beaten the Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes every time they play him. He's 3-0 against them right now, 3-0. But 2, I still have to put Andy Reid in the Chiefs. I think overall they have the better team, although Jamar Chase is on the other team. They have the better receiver with Jamar Chase. I just think overall the Chiefs has a better team with Patrick Mahomes. And they may not even meet in the playoff. When it comes to playoff time, they may not even meet each other, so it might be irrelevant, or they could. Number 1, I have to put Bills back up there because of the Chiefs fell to the Bengals. to me, that was an opportunity for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to show, hey, we big dogs. And I knew the Bengals was going to be a tough team for them to go against. So come on, Bills, don't let us down now, because the Bills has been like a little quiet lately. Right. I don't know if anybody noticed. They've been a little quiet. But speaking of that, can I ask a question, Jay?
Go for it.
Is it okay? I know I'm throwing a little, this in there, but because the Dolphins lost to the 49ers, does this lower Tua's? Do you guys think this lower Tua's chances in the MVP race? Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, yes and no. I would say yes, obviously, because that's obviously a spotlight type of game. He doesn't put up a ton of numbers. They only score 17 points. You lose to a third string quarterback. So I think if you look at it like that, yes, I think it hurts. But the only reason I'm kind of on the fence is because the NFL season is just so long. You got 17 weeks. So if he goes and plays lights out for the next 3-4 weeks in a row, nobody's really going to remember this 49ers game, right? So I think for now it does hurt, but I think there's still plenty of time for him to make it right, so to speak. So I'm going to say yes and no. I still think really how everyone plays over the next 4 or 5 weeks is going to determine who wins the MVP.
I agree. I definitely agree with Jay there for, momentarily. Yeah, it looks like, he lost some, he lost some leverage there. He lost a little bit of ground, I should say, because of the performance. I mean, he still put up 295 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. So if you're asking, it all depends on who you're asking, who has the vote. Because if you go and ask these guys who actually watch film against, on these guys, instead of just looking at their numbers, because a lot of these guys who vote just look at their numbers. But if you dissect the game against the 49ers, Tua missed a lot of open chances, man. Yeah. He really did. So if you look at it in that aspect, I would say, yeah, he's because he was so concerned about that defensive rush, but he still had a chance to make some throws. So I'm going to say based off of that, he lost some ground. But like Jay said, it's still enough time for him to regain some ground for sure as well. So I'm definitely in agreement with Jay.
And hey, Walk, does he look nervous to you at all in the pocket? To me, he does. I know we all saw what happened, weeks ago with the concussion and everything. But to me, when people get around him or he thinks he's going to get hit, you can almost feel, I don't want to say he's afraid, because I just don't think football players, you go out on the field, you're not afraid. But I definitely feel like he's thinking about protecting himself when he gets hit. Did you see that at all, K-Walk?
Yeah, Jay, and a lot of talk was going into that game because they were without their 2 starting tackles. I mean, there's 2 starting tackles as well, so keep that in mind. They didn't have they were playing with backup linemen against a great defensive rush. So yeah, he was definitely conscious of that, Jay. And Nick Bosa was going low on him a lot of the times. He got called for 1 for roughing the passer for going low. But yeah, Jay, you can definitely see that even when he wasn't getting rushed, he was still, he was rushing the passes, and that's what made him miss some of those throws that he normally makes, that he was making, 5 weeks ago, that he could throw with his eyes closed. But yeah, you could definitely see that he was very aware of where that defensive line, that rush was coming from for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I would say, I guess for me, I agree with you guys. He dropped down a little bit, especially with the performance that Jalen Hurts had, which was ridiculous. Also with the performance that Joe Burrows have. I don't put Joe Burrows above him just yet, though. To me, he's still below him. And then Patrick Mahomes, I know he struggled against the Bengals, like we said earlier. The Bengals just got Patrick Mahomes' number. They really do. So right now, those are the top 2, Pat Mahomes and Jalen. Then I'm going to keep Tua in there, but if he has another type of one of these games, I think he'll drop low for me.